So in today's web dev tip, we're going to log on to our new server and create a new user that we can use to access our server and also deploy our code with, because we don't really want to be using the root user account to be logging onto the server all of the time. We want to keep that safe and only be used for special administration tasks. So the first thing we're going to do is just log on. And if you remember from yesterday, we just used the SSH command and we've only got the root user at the moment, so we do need to use that to log on to the actual server. And let's just tidy this up. So once we're logged on, we're simply on a Ubuntu operating system. So any Linux command that is compatible with Ubuntu, obviously, will work in this environment. And it's fairly straightforward. The command that we just need to use is user add to add the new user. And then we just specify a name for the user, and you can choose any name that you like. But because we're using this as a kind of service account as well for deployments later on down the line, then we shall use the project name, just so we can be specific as to what project this user refers to, because we could have multiple projects and services set up on this particular server, and this will just help distinguish that this user is specific to this project. Now, this won't work just as it is. We need to add the sudo command to the start of the user add command. And if you're not familiar with sudo, it basically gives us elevated privileges. It's short for super user do, I believe. So this is just saying the user add command, run that with an elevated privilege. And you'll find there are lots of Linux commands that do need the sudo command before them, just to give them that level of privilege so that they're able to complete. So if we run that now, you'll see that we don't get any response, which is not very helpful, but that user has been created, and we can test that by using the su command, which is switch user, and then we'll just say Rick and roll. And you can see we get a new terminal here, and indicated by the dollar symbol. And just to show you that if we put in some other random text for a user that doesn't exist, you should see that we get this error message saying that that particular user doesn't exist. So we've definitely created the right user now. The only thing is we do need to give it some privileges to be able to work with some of the software that we're going to be installing in the following steps. And one of those things is to add it to the sudo as group. So where we used sudo here, we want to give that ability to our Rick and roll user as well. So let's just run that here. So sudo user mod, and then we specify a couple of flags here. So just to give it the right groupings and levels of permissions that we need. So we'll say add it to the sudo as group, and we need to specify the username, which is Rick and roll. So that's just another little command to make sure that our user has the ability to run commands with sudo. And in the next step, we're going to be setting up all of the files and folder directories rather for our projects. So we'll log in as that user, and that sudo command will be useful to have then. There you go, we've seen how to add a new user and add them to the sudoers group on our Ubuntu server. That's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.